Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video it's like 7 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Not exactly the type of day I'm looking to go and do some sort of a crazy review or experiment. Now my family's gone, I'm sitting here and I'm like, what am I going to do? I knew I wanted to put a video together. I also knew I didn't want to necessarily go outside, but what I did want to do is actually catch up on a few things that's really important. Things that have been kind of falling by the wayside by a little bit, but it makes a big difference. And what I'm talking about is some gear maintenance. Now I have a number of items that over time have just been used thoroughly, and all my gear just, if it's used just like all of you, you know, over time stitching comes undone, things might tear, rip, and basically at some point in time you gotta deal with it. So I have a number of these items that have been piling up and I really need to do something about it. And so today we're gonna take a look at a few of these items and I'm gonna do my best to make the repairs. Now here I have my DD Hammock Super Light Tarp. This has a very small tear in it. Unfortunately, this was a self-inflicted wound. If you were watching my video on waterproofing a tarp, unfortunately this did sustain some damage while I was doing that video. So at this point I need to make the repair. I'm going to open this up, find the tear, and I'll show you what I'm going to do about trying to fix this. Now here I have identified the section of the tarp with the tear. Again, it is quite small, but it's there and it's on the seam, so I want to make sure I do a good job of protecting this tarp from ripping any further. The main problem I have is that this has been completely waterproofed, so it is quite slick. So I think I need to take maybe just a little bit of rubbing alcohol, try to clean this area the best I can on both sides. And I have some Tenacious Tape I'm going to use basically to go over this and make a repair. And I don't know if I need to put any stitching in this just to kind of reinforce it. I may or I may not. I'm not too sure yet. But I'm going to start by cleaning this up and adding the tape. Now just to do this the easiest way possible, I figured I'd use a couple of these alcohol prep pads, which I just had in my med kit. So the heck, let's use them. So again, I'm just gonna prep this area by really trying to clean it up. And I'm hoping it's gonna take off some of this waterproofing, because I can tell you that this tarp is quite slick at this point, and I'm nervous about the ability for the tape to really adhere. I mean, I'm sure it will, but I just want it to be a really quality repair. I don't want to worry about the tape letting go over time, so I'm just going to do the best I can to really prep this area. So I'll do the front of the tarp and the back, even though I don't think too much of that waterproofing made it to the back side, but I do want it to be clean and ready for that tape. So just doing my best to really clean this up. And then after I use this first prep pad, I'll use a second one just to make sure that I do a real thorough job, and we'll see how it looks. So at this point I have the area completely prepped and cleaned. I have my Tenacious Tape. Now I purchased clear because I knew I wanted to use this tape on many different things and I didn't really want to commit to one specific color, so I did get clear. I guess real quick, just looking at the directions, it says clean the damaged area with alcohol, so I'm already on the right track. Cut a patch with rounded corners, overlap the damaged area by at least 1 inch. What I decided I was going to do, because this is on the edge of the tarp, is actually make it almost a double patch, where I'm going to have a piece that comes over the top of the tarp and then flaps over the corner and then down onto the back side and kind of sandwiches the ripped area between two pieces of the tape. So I'm basically just going to determine at this point how big I want this patch to be, and it looks like this is already kind of split back. so I really don't need the full width of this. I'm going to certainly go wider than I need to by probably a ½ inch or so. So I'm going to cut this down just a little bit, and then in length I want probably a 2-inch piece here. So I'm going to cut this 2 inches long, and then I think I'm pretty much where I want to be. I just need to round off all the edges and be prepared to adhere this to the tarp. So let me get my scissors and we'll go from there. Okay, this is my patch, and I'm going to round this whole thing out real nice, just so nothing can catch and snag. At least it'll reduce the potential, that's for sure. Round this whole thing out. A little better here, and voila. So, this is the part you want to do and not screw up. Guess I could redo it if I had to, but who really wants to do that? So, I'm going to leave half the back on here. That's actually showing me the perfect length. So if I just line up the section with the backing at the seam of the tarp, I'll be in good shape. Centering this right on my patch. Go easy here so I get it good and flat. Overall pretty straightforward, but I just wanted to show you the detail. So you can see I left the backing on this side. That's going to flap underneath and go on the underside of the tarp. And here that piece is already starting to get adhered. You can see the rounded edges, and I'm going to press this all down. Now that rip is literally right in the middle here, and it's hard to see it because I lined up the fabric nicely so that it's pretty much where it used to be. But I'm going to finish adhering this down, and that should pretty much take care of this repair. And the only other question I had was whether or not I should run some stitching, maybe up and around this patch, just to help hold it together. Now for some of the other repairs I'm going to make today, I may bust out the sewing machine. I'm not the best at it, but I could certainly do it in a pinch. And so I'm thinking maybe just putting nice little reinforcement over here would definitely ensure this is a good quality repair. Just trying to make sure this is nice and firm, no air pockets or bubbles or anything like that, and that looks mighty fine, so that's going on quite nicely. And flipping this over, I can't even see the damage anymore. I think I'm in the right spot, and I can't even tell, so I guess that's a good sign. And so now I'm just going to peel the second back here. This is where I really want to get this nice, because this could kind of make or break how quality this repair looks. Not that looks is everything, but I just like to do a nice job, take my time, and do quality work when I can. This is a little bit tricky, so I think I'm better off if I just get this nice and flat here, and then fold this over like this. And I'll just go easy from one end to the other here. That's certainly not perfect, but I guess that's alright. I'm not thrilled about it, actually, to be honest with you, but I'm committed now, so go with it. Okay. Now the part of this I'm not thrilled at. I really wanted to get that kind of tighter there. You can see there's some excess, not the biggest deal. Maybe, I don't know, if I trim that, I feel like it gives you a place where it could peel off. So I might just trim these corners just a little bit and be careful so I don't accidentally cause any further damage to the tarp, but at least it won't leave me with a part that can snag. Just gonna go so gentle here and just round that out, and just on this side too. And overall, I think that's probably fine. So then again, my only question is, do I need any stitching? And I think I'll revisit this a little bit later, but that to me looks like a very sound repair. I think that's realistically all this is supposed to need. I mean, it's not supposed to need stitching. I just know that a lot of times I put a lot of tension on my tie-outs. And if this thing was really pulling along this seam, it could potentially create some tension on there. But I think this is solid as is. I don't know that I see the need to necessarily put any stitching in this. Alright, so next, this repair goes to the way back machine. This goes all the way back to my backpacking gear loadout video, where I've had a lot of comments on that video about how to repair this bag, and I think the Tenacious Tape is the way to go. Now, where I'm conflicted in my mind is that this is a stretchy material, and it does need to stretch in order for it to perform the way it's supposed to and have the function that it needs. And I always wanted to have a repair here that was kind of suitable for that. Now, I guess I could put a patch, but then all the stitching on the patch is going to pull. I don't really have any good means about going about doing this. Now, you can send an Osprey pack back to Osprey. It's a lifetime, no questions asked warranty. They will make this repair, but on this particular mesh, that's all they do is stitch it back up. So I'm like, okay, for the cost of sending this bag back and having it gone for a while and trying to deal with it, I'm like, you know what, I'll just make the repair myself. Not a big deal. So I think at this point, I'm going to do a very similar thing to what I did with that tarp. I'm going to put a patch on the inside and a patch on the outside, double reinforce this tear, and then I really do think that this would need some stitching. Now, it's a little bit cumbersome. I don't know if I could do it with a sewing machine, just the way this bag and the layers of the fabric are. I might have to hand stitch it, which is not too big of a deal, but I'm going to start with the patch, go from there. So in a similar fashion, I should probably prep the area. So I do have another alcohol pad here, and I don't know if this really warrants it, but I figure I might as well just clean this up real quick and get it prepared for that patch. So now, measuring the area, this is a pretty good size tear, so I'm just going to go with a nice healthy patch here. So I think in this case, I'm going to go basically like 2 inches by 2 inches, one on the inside, one on the outside, so I need to cut 2 patches here. There's my second one. I'm kind of crinkling this, so I got to be careful. Alright, and I need to round out this patch of sharp spots, so I'm just going to cut all these corners off here. Okay, that's not bad. That's 1 and 2. Now, if you guys are curious, this is what the Tenacious Tape looks like. I bought it right off of Amazon, pretty easy. So anyway, again, this is the clear. I want to make sure that I get this thing nice and lined up. So I'm going to have to go carefully, and I'll only do half of this patch backing at a time to make sure that I actually get this properly located. And let's see how I do. So trying to get this fabric as flat to its original position. That's not going to work. I got this lined up terribly. Alright, let's start with the top instead of the inside, because I think at least that way I can get this patch better centered and more appropriately lined up on this fabric. So I want to center this patch right on that fabric. That right there is so much better than it was going the first time. Wow, that is a Mongo patch. Oh man, this is just ugly. Ugly. I don't like this one bit, but I don't know, whatever, just commit to it. It doesn't have to be pretty, right? It's a backpack, you're using it to go out into the mountains, right? Isn't that the point, I guess? I don't know. This to me is not the right way to go about this, but I mean, I think I just have too big of a patch. I put way too much patch on this, but I guess better too much than not enough, right? And if I have to in the future, I suppose I could probably peel this off and go smaller, but that's alright. I'm going to do the inside too. So at least now I have the outside pretty well squared away. So trying to do my best to line this up, kind of match it up on the inside here. A little bit hard to see, and especially attempting to keep my fingerprints off of this thing. Alright, let me just reposition. It actually looks like it's going to be pretty good in there. Alright. So, that is complete. That is one ugly repair. But it's a repair. And that will not tear anymore at this point. So, I can see this possibly peeling off Now I would think that definitely wants some sort of a stitch. Now I do think at this point if I wanted to put a patch, like a trail patch or something like that, or something cool, that would work. And then the actual reinforcing of this Tenacious Tape would prevent it from really pulling on this mesh. So I don't know, that's ugly at best, but I think it will at least protect this so that when I stuff my gear in here, it's less likely to continue to make that tear any worse.